there in the grasslands of Africa, a master of deception is lying in wait. It's one of the continent's most feared snakes. But you know what? Almost everything we think we know about it is wrong. So today, we're going to peel back the myths and get into the incredible survival science of the puff adder. Okay, so let's start with a question for you. When you look at a puff adder, what do you see? A thick, heavy snake that just sits there, right? The natural assumption is that it's lazy, maybe even a little slow. But in an environment that is constantly trying to kill you, that can't be the real story. So what do you think is its #1 secret weapon? Just lock in your guess. Yeah, this is the big one, the fat and lazy killer myth. It's bulky, it's stocky, and it seems perfectly happy to not move an inch for days. But here's the thing, that whole idea is a huge contradiction. How could an animal that seems so inactive be one of the most successful survivors in Africa? That's the puzzle we're about to solve. And this gets us right to the core of its entire existence, what we can call the ambush predator's dilemma. See, what we see as laziness is actually a very high-stakes, all-or-nothing survival strategy. And this strategy creates two massive, potentially fatal problems that this snake absolutely has to solve. Just to give you an idea of the scale we're talking about, field studies show that puff adders spend over 90% of their time completely motionless, just waiting. This isn't just chilling out. It is a profound, deep commitment to one single way of hunting. And a commitment like that comes with some serious risks. So here's the bottom line. Sitting perfectly still for weeks on end creates two huge life-or-death challenges. First, if you don't move, you are basically a sitting duck for any predator that hunts by smell. We're talking cobras, mongooses, monitor lizards. And second, you have literally zero control over when your next meal is going to wander by. You are completely at the mercy of chance. To survive this, the puff adder needed solutions that were almost supernatural. All right, let's tackle that first problem. How do you hide from things that want to eat you when you can't run? Well, the puff adder evolved one of the most incredible defenses in the entire animal kingdom. It literally learned how to become a ghost. You know, researchers were really puzzled by this. They'd seen predators like hunting dogs and even meerkats walk right past motionless puff adders. So they set up this brilliant experiment. They trained these animals, who have an amazing sense of smell, to find different snakes using only scent. They compared active, always-on-the-move snakes with our stationary puff adder. And the results were, whoa, they were staggering. The dogs could sniff out the active snakes with over 80% accuracy. No problem. But the puff adder, their accuracy plummeted to less than 20%. I mean, that's basically just random guessing. To their noses, the puff adder was practically invisible. This superpower actually has a scientific name. It's called chemical crypsis. Think of it like an olfactory cloaking device. While lots of animals use visual camouflage to blend in, the puff adder has evolved to produce almost no detectable scent. It doesn't need to hide from predators if chemically it isn't even there. And this wasn't just some minor finding. As the researchers themselves pointed out, this was a groundbreaking discovery. It just shows you how intense the evolutionary pressure was. To become the perfect ambush hunter, the puff adder had to learn how to completely erase itself from the landscape of scent. Okay, so problem 1 solved. The snake can hide from predators. But what about that second problem? How do you survive when your next meal could be days or weeks or even months away? Well, the solution was to basically re-engineer its entire body into an extreme feast or famine engine. On the famine side of things, its abilities are almost hard to believe. By studying their weight loss over time, scientists figured that a well-fed puff adder with a lot of fat stored up could probably survive for more than 2 years without a single meal. Its body is literally a fortress of stored energy. But here's the other side of that coin, the feast side. When prey is actually around, a puff adder can eat, on average, 12 times the amount of food it needs just to stay alive. This incredible flexibility means it can gorge itself when there's a sudden boom in the rodent population, and then just ride out the long, lean periods that are sure to follow. So what we have here is a scentless, hyper-efficient energy machine. But the lazy snake myth also kind of implies that it's a simple, dumb killer, right? Well, the science shows us something way more sophisticated. The puff adder is a calculating, thinking hunter. Get this, by using fixed cameras on wild puff adders, we've discovered they're the first animal known to use two completely different kinds of lures. To attract things like toads, they'll slowly stick out their tongue and wiggle it like a little worm. That's called lingual luring. But they also use their tail, waving the tip around like an insect, to attract other kinds of prey. And its brain power doesn't stop there. Once something is in range, the snake makes a complex, split-second calculation. We've seen on video that it actually identifies the prey and then chooses its tactic. For something small and harmless, like a toad, it'll strike and hold on. But for something bigger, something that could bite back and hurt it, like a rat, it uses a strike and release tactic. It injects the venom, backs off, and then safely tracks its meal down by scent. That is not a simple reflex. That's risk assessment in real time. So we've uncovered a scentless ghost with a supercharged metabolism and a hunter's brain. So I'm curious, which of these details has surprised you the most? Was it the cloaking device, the 2-year fast, or the calculated strike? Let me know down in the comments. All right, let's bring this all together. That image of the fat and lazy snake is a total myth, born from us completely misunderstanding one of nature's most brilliant survival plans. It's time we see the puff adder for what it really is, the absolute master of stillness. That legendary inactivity, the very thing we point to and call laziness, is actually the ultimate form of energy conservation. It's a masterpiece of efficiency, perfectly designed to outlast any tough times. This whole strategy, this entire deadly waiting game, is only possible because of those elite adaptations we've been talking about. Its chemical invisibility makes it safe to stay still, and its insane metabolism gives it all the time it needs to wait for that perfect moment. Stillness isn't its weakness, it's the very source of its power. The puff adder is a perfect case study in how looks can be deceiving, and how going all in on one strategy can lead to incredible success. If you want a sharp reference on how these ambush masters actually thrive, go ahead and save this explainer. And definitely make sure you subscribe, because tomorrow we are looking at the puff adder's close relative, the gaboon viper, a snake that took this ambush model and pushed it in a completely different and maybe even more extreme direction. Understanding this master of stillness changes how you see survival. And trust me, tomorrow's explainer on the gaboon and viper will change it all over again.